For over a century, the Bermuda Triangle has captured the world's imagination as a place where ships vanish without trace, aircraft disappear into clear skies, and the very laws of physics seem to bend. Stretching across 500,000 square miles of Atlantic Ocean, between Florida, Bermuda, and Puerto Rico, this region has been blamed for the mysterious disappearance of over 1,000 vessels and aircraft. But what really happens in these waters, and how much of what we believe is based on fact versus decades of sensationalized storytelling? December 14, 1945. The sun hung low over Fort Lauderdale Naval Air Station as Lieutenant Charles Taylor prepared for what should have been a routine training mission. Flight 19, consisting of 5 TBM Avenger torpedo bombers, was scheduled for a simple navigation exercise. Taylor, an experienced pilot with over 2,500 flight hours, would lead 4 student aviators on a triangular route over the Bahamas. They would fly east, then north, then southwest back to base. 2 hours maximum. At 2:10 p.m., the 5 aircraft lifted off into clear skies. Radio contact was normal. The weather was perfect. Everything was routine, until it wasn't. At 3:45 p.m., Lieutenant Robert Cox, flying nearby, picked up a disturbing radio transmission from Flight 19. Taylor's voice crackled through the static, confused and increasingly desperate. "Both my compasses are out," Taylor reported. "I'm trying to find Fort Lauderdale. I'm over land, but it's broken. I'm sure I'm in the Keys, but I don't know how far down." But here's what made no sense. The flight plan had them over water near the Bahamas. There was no land where they should have been. Cox tried to guide them, but Taylor's responses grew more erratic. "We can't find west. Everything is wrong. Even the ocean doesn't look as it should." The radio transmissions became increasingly frantic. Taylor seemed convinced they were over the Florida Keys, hundreds of miles from their actual position. He ordered the flight to head northeast, directly away from land, believing they were flying toward Florida. "We're not sure of our position," came another transmission. "Well, we can't be sure of any direction. Everything looks strange, even the ocean." At 4:25 p.m., the final transmission from Flight 19 was received. Taylor's voice, barely audible through growing static. "It looks like we are entering white water. We're completely lost." Then silence. A massive search and rescue operation launched immediately. Over 300 aircraft and dozens of ships scoured 250,000 square miles of ocean. They found nothing. No wreckage, no oil slicks, no life rafts. 5 aircraft and 14 men had simply vanished. But the mystery deepened when one of the rescue planes, a PBM Mariner flying boat with 13 crew members aboard, also disappeared. The SS Gaines Mills reported seeing an explosion in the sky at the approximate time and location of the Mariner's last known position, but no debris was ever found. In a single afternoon, 6 aircraft and 27 men had vanished without a trace in the waters that would soon become known as the Bermuda Triangle. The official Navy report concluded with a phrase that would haunt investigators for decades: "Cause unknown." But Flight 19 was just the beginning. What happened next would transform a tragic military accident into the greatest maritime mystery of the modern age. But before we continue, take a second and let us know where you're listening from. Is it late at night? Are you using this to wind down or to learn something new? And if you're enjoying the story so far, like and subscribe. It helps us keep bringing you the hidden truths of our past. The disappearance of Flight 19 should have remained a footnote in military aviation history. Instead, it became the cornerstone of one of the world's most enduring mysteries. The transformation began with a writer named Vincent Gaddis. In 1964, nearly 20 years after Flight 19 vanished, Gaddis published an article in Argosy magazine titled "The Deadly Bermuda Triangle." For the first time, someone had drawn imaginary lines connecting Florida, Bermuda, and Puerto Rico, creating a triangle of mystery. Gaddis wasn't just naming a region. He was crafting a legend. He collected dozens of disappearances from the area, some dating back centuries, and wove them into a narrative of supernatural forces and unexplained phenomena. The Bermuda Triangle was born. But here's what Gaddis didn't mention in his article. The area he had defined as mysteriously dangerous encompassed over 500,000 square miles of some of the busiest shipping lanes in the world. Thousands of vessels pass through these waters every month. The Caribbean has been a major shipping route since Columbus first crossed it in 1492. The statistics, when examined objectively, told a different story. Lloyd's of London, the world's leading maritime insurance market, reported that the Bermuda Triangle showed no unusual loss rates compared to other heavily traveled ocean areas. The US Coast Guard, which responds to distress calls in the region, found no evidence of supernatural activity. Yet the legend grew. In 1974, Charles Berlitz published The Bermuda Triangle, a best-selling book that brought the mystery to millions of readers worldwide. Berlitz added new cases, new theories, and new supernatural explanations. He spoke of time warps, alien abductions, and lost Atlantean technology. The book sold over 5 million copies and spawned countless documentaries, movies, and television specials. The Bermuda Triangle became a cultural phenomenon. But as researchers began examining Berlitz's cases more closely, disturbing patterns emerged. Many of the disappearances he described had never actually happened. Others occurred nowhere near the triangle. Some vessels he claimed had vanished mysteriously were later found to have sunk in storms, run aground, or been destroyed in documented accidents. Lawrence David Kusch, a research librarian at Arizona State University, spent years investigating every case mentioned in Berlitz's book. His findings, published in The Bermuda Triangle Mysteries Solved, were devastating to the legend. The SS Cyclops, a Navy cargo ship that disappeared in 1918 with 306 people aboard, had been carrying a dangerously unstable cargo of manganese ore. Similar ships had broken apart and sunk due to structural failures caused by this type of cargo. The yacht Connemara IV, found drifting and abandoned in 1955, had actually been found with its crew safe and sound. Berlitz had simply ignored this inconvenient fact. Case after case fell apart under scrutiny. Dates were wrong, locations were fabricated, weather conditions were misrepresented, clear skies became mysterious fogs, routine accidents became supernatural vanishings. But the damage was done. The Bermuda Triangle had taken on a life of its own, immune to facts and evidence. The question remained, if the triangle was largely a creation of sensationalized storytelling, why did people want so desperately to believe in it? The answer lay not in the waters of the Atlantic, but in the deeper currents of human psychology and our relationship with the unknown ocean. Long before anyone had heard of the Bermuda Triangle, sailors told stories of cursed waters and supernatural disappearances. The ocean has always been humanity's greatest mystery, a vast realm where the normal rules seem suspended. Christopher Columbus himself recorded strange phenomena during his historic voyage in 1492. As his ships passed through what would later be called the Bermuda Triangle, Columbus noted in his log that his compass began behaving erratically. He observed strange lights dancing on the horizon and reported that a great flame of fire crashed into the sea. His crew, already terrified by the endless expanse of unknown ocean, whispered of sea monsters and the edge of the world. Columbus kept these observations secret, fearing his men might mutiny if they believed they had entered cursed waters. But Columbus's experience wasn't unique. For centuries, sailors reported magnetic anomalies, strange lights, and unexplained phenomena in these waters. The region sits atop one of only 2 places on Earth where magnetic north and true north align, a phenomenon that can cause compass confusion for the unprepared. The area also experiences unique weather patterns. The Gulf Stream, a powerful ocean current carrying warm water from the Caribbean toward Europe, creates rapid weather changes. Clear skies can become violent storms within minutes. The shallow waters around the Bahamas, combined with strong currents, create treacherous conditions that have claimed countless vessels. Yet these natural explanations couldn't fully account for the triangle's hold on the human imagination. The real power of the legend lay in something deeper, our primal fear of the ocean itself. Consider this, we have mapped less than 20% of the ocean floor. We know more about the surface of Mars than we do about the depths of our own planet's seas. The ocean covers 71% of Earth's surface, yet remains largely unexplored, a vast alien realm existing just beyond our shores. This fear has ancient roots. Early maps marked unknown ocean regions with the warning, Hubie dragons. Medieval sailors spoke of the Kraken, a sea monster so large it could be mistaken for an island. The legend of the Flying Dutchman, a ghost ship doomed to sail forever, captured the terror of being lost at sea. The Bermuda Triangle tapped into these primal fears while giving them a modern, scientific-sounding framework. Instead of sea monsters, we had electromagnetic anomalies. Instead of curses, we had time walks. The fear remained the same, but the explanation had evolved. Dr. Simon Winchester, author of Atlantic, explains it this way. The ocean represents the ultimate unknown. It's where our technology fails, where our maps end, where we confront our own insignificance. The Bermuda Triangle gives us a way to make sense of that fear. But there was another factor at play. The Triangle legend emerged during the Cold War, an era when Americans were increasingly anxious about invisible threats and government cover-ups. The idea that mysterious forces might be operating in American waters, beyond the control of the military, resonated with deeper cultural anxieties. The 1960s and 70s saw an explosion of interest in UFOs, psychic phenomena, and conspiracy theories. The Bermuda Triangle fit perfectly into this cultural moment, offering a mystery that seemed to prove that there were still unknown forces in the world, still secrets the government couldn't explain. Yet even as the legend grew, real researchers were uncovering the truth about what actually happened in these waters. And what they found was in many ways more fascinating than any supernatural explanation. Dr. Joseph Monaghan stared at the computer simulation on his screen, watching as a massive bubble of methane gas erupted from the ocean floor. The virtual ship above it didn't sink gracefully. It plummeted like a stone, swallowed by the sea in seconds. This was 1997, and Monaghan, a researcher at Monash University in Australia, was investigating one of the most promising scientific explanations for mysterious ship disappearances, methane hydrate eruptions. Beneath the ocean floor throughout the world, including areas of the Bermuda Triangle, vast deposits of methane hydrate lie frozen under pressure. These ice-like formations contain enormous amounts of methane gas. When geological shifts or temperature changes destabilize these deposits, they can release massive quantities of gas into the water column. Monaghan's computer models showed that when methane saturates seawater, it dramatically reduces the water's density. A ship floating on normal seawater would suddenly find itself in a liquid that could no longer support its weight. The vessel would sink rapidly, often without time to send a distress signal. The gas bubbles would also rise to the surface, creating a foam that would quickly dissipate, leaving no trace of the disaster. Within hours, the ocean would appear completely normal, as if nothing had happened. This wasn't just theoretical. In 1998, the research vessel JOIDUS Resolution was drilling core samples in the Blake Ridge, southeast of the US coast, when instruments detected a massive methane deposit. The area showed evidence of past eruptions that had left craters on the ocean floor over a mile wide. But methane eruptions were just one piece of the puzzle. The Bermuda Triangle region experiences several other natural phenomena that could explain mysterious disappearances. Rogue waves, massive walls of water that can reach heights of over 100 feet, occur more frequently in areas where different ocean currents meet. The Gulf Stream, flowing north through the Triangle region, creates conditions perfect for these monster waves. A rogue wave could easily overwhelm a ship or aircraft, leaving no survivors and little debris. The area also experiences unique electromagnetic phenomena. The Bermuda Triangle sits on the agonic line, where magnetic north and true north align. This can cause compass readings to vary by as much as 20 degrees from normal, leading to navigation errors. Electronic equipment can malfunction due to natural electromagnetic variations in the Earth's magnetic field. Weather patterns in the region are notoriously unpredictable. The subtropical climate creates conditions for rapid storm formation. Waterspouts, essentially tornadoes over water, can appear with little warning and are powerful enough to destroy aircraft or ships. Dr. Neil deGrasse Tyson, director of the Hayden Planetarium, put it succinctly. The Bermuda Triangle is a heavily traveled section of ocean with weather patterns and geological features that can be dangerous to navigation. What's mysterious is why people think this requires a supernatural explanation. Yet even armed with scientific explanations, researchers faced a fundamental problem. The ocean is remarkably efficient at hiding evidence. A ship or aircraft that sinks in deep water may never be found. Ocean currents can scatter debris across thousands of miles. Metal corrodes rapidly in salt water. Bodies are consumed by marine life. The Atlantic Ocean in the Triangle region reaches depths of over 25,000 feet. At those depths, the pressure is over 700 times greater than at sea level. Any wreckage would be crushed and buried in sediment. Finding it would be nearly impossible with current technology. This created a perfect storm for mystery. Natural phenomena that could cause rapid, catastrophic destruction, combined with an environment that efficiently concealed evidence, made it seem as if vessels were simply vanishing into thin air. But the most shocking discovery was yet to come. When researchers began systematically examining the most famous Bermuda Triangle cases, they found something that would shake the foundation of the entire legend. Larry Cush's sat surrounded by towers of yellowing newspapers, maritime records and weather reports in the Arizona State University Library. It was 1975, and he had spent 3 years methodically investigating every single case mentioned in Charles Berlitz's best-selling book, The Bermuda Triangle. What he found was staggering. The SS Cyclops, one of the most famous triangle disappearances, had vanished in March 1918 while carrying manganese ore from Barbados to Baltimore. Berlitz described perfect weather conditions and a mysterious vanishing. But Cushy discovered that the ship had sailed directly into a severe storm. Weather records from 1918 showed gale-force winds and 30-foot seas along the Cyclops' route. More damning, the ship was carrying an experimental cargo of manganese ore, a material known to cause structural problems. The ore could shift during rough weather, making ships unstable. 2 sister ships of the Cyclops, the Proteus and the Nereus, had disappeared in World War II while carrying similar cargoes. The cause wasn't mysterious, it was metallurgy. Case after case fell apart under scrutiny. The yacht Connemara IV, supposedly found drifting empty and abandoned, had actually been recovered with its crew safe and sound. The crew had simply gone ashore and returned to find their anchor had dragged. The freighter SS Hewitt, which Berlitz claimed had vanished without a trace, had actually sent distress signals reporting engine problems before sinking in a documented storm. The Coast Guard had rescued survivors. The luxury yacht Ravonic, supposedly vanished mysteriously, had actually run aground in the Bahamas. The crew was rescued, and the incident was reported in local newspapers. But Cush's most shocking discovery involved the dates and locations of the disappearances. Many of the incidents Berlitz attributed to the Bermuda Triangle had actually occurred hundreds or even thousands of miles away. Some had happened in the Pacific Ocean. Others had occurred before the triangle was even defined as a region. The merchant vessel MV Joyita, which Berlitz claimed had vanished in the triangle, had actually disappeared in the Pacific Ocean between Samoa and the Tokelau Islands, over 4,000 miles away from the Bermuda Triangle. Even more disturbing, Cush found that Berlitz had fabricated entire incidents. Ships that had never existed were listed as triangle victims. Dates were changed to make disappearances seem more mysterious. Weather conditions were altered to eliminate natural explanations. The pattern was clear and systematic. Berlitz had taken ordinary maritime accidents, stripped away their explanations, changed their details, and presented them as supernatural mysteries. But here's what made the deception even more effective. Berlitz was building on a foundation of genuine mystery. Real ships and aircraft had disappeared in the region. Real people had died. The tragedy of Flight 19 was absolutely real. By mixing genuine unsolved cases with fabricated mysteries, Berlitz created a narrative that was impossible to completely debunk. The few genuinely unexplained disappearances became proof that all the cases were mysterious. The fabricated cases provided volume, making it seem like the triangle was claiming victims at an unprecedented rate. Dr. Howard Rosenberg, a meteorologist who studied triangle cases, explained the psychology. People want to believe in mysteries. When you present them with a mix of real unexplained events and fabricated ones, they focus on the mystery and ignore the explanations. It's confirmation bias in action. The revelation of Berlitz's deceptions should have ended the triangle legend. Cush's book, The Bermuda Triangle Mysteries Solved, methodically destroyed every major case. Academic researchers dismissed the triangle as a manufactured mystery, but the legend proved remarkably resilient. New books appeared, recycling the same debunked cases. Television documentaries continue to present triangle disappearances as genuine mysteries, often using the same fabricated details Cushy had exposed decades earlier. The Bermuda Triangle had become what researchers call a zombie myth, a false belief that continues to spread despite being thoroughly debunked. But why did people continue to believe in something that had been so completely discredited? The answer lay in the fundamental human need for mystery in an increasingly explained world. Dr. Christopher French paused his lecture at Goldsmiths University of London and looked out at his students. "How many of you," he asked, "have heard of the Bermuda Triangle?" Every hand in the room went up. "And how many of you believe there's something genuinely mysterious about it?" About half the hands remained raised. French, one of Britain's leading experts on paranormal beliefs, wasn't surprised. Despite decades of debunking, the Bermuda Triangle remained one of the world's most persistent mysteries. The question wasn't whether the triangle was real. It had been thoroughly debunked. The question was why people continue to believe in it. The answer, French explained, lay in the fundamental architecture of human psychology. Humans are pattern-seeking creatures. Our brains evolved to detect threats and opportunities in our environment, which meant developing an acute sensitivity to unusual events. A rustling bush might hide a predator. A strange sound might signal danger. This hypervigilance kept our ancestors alive. But in the modern world, the same pattern-seeking behavior can lead us astray. We see meaningful connections where none exist. We remember unusual events and forget ordinary ones. We assume that dramatic effects must have dramatic causes. The Bermuda Triangle exploited all of these psychological tendencies. Consider the availability heuristic, a cognitive bias where we judge the likelihood of events based on how easily we can remember examples. People could easily recall dramatic triangle disappearances from books, movies, and documentaries. They couldn't recall the thousands of uneventful flights and voyages through the same region. This created a false impression of danger. The triangle seemed perilous because mysterious disappearances were memorable, while safe passages were forgotten. The confirmation bias played an equally important role. Once people believed in the triangle's mystery, they interpreted new information to support that belief. A routine accident became evidence of supernatural forces. A delayed flight became a near miss with the unknown. Dr. Michael Shermer, founder of Skeptic magazine, conducted an experiment that illustrated this perfectly. He presented two groups with identical information about maritime accidents. One group was told the accidents occurred in the Bermuda Triangle. The other was told they occurred in a control region. The Triangle group was significantly more likely to attribute the accidents to mysterious causes, even though the information was identical. The mere mention of the triangle activated their expectation of mystery. But there was another factor at play, the need for wonder in an increasingly explained world. The 20th century had been an era of rapid scientific advancement. Mysteries that had puzzled humanity for millennia were being solved. The structure of DNA was decoded. The age of the universe was calculated. Humans walked on the moon. In this context, the Bermuda Triangle offered something precious, a genuine mystery that science couldn't explain. It suggested that there were still unknown forces in the world, still secrets waiting to be discovered. Dr. Carl Jung, the pioneering psychologist, called this the human need for numinous experience, encounters with the mysterious and transcendental. In a world increasingly dominated by scientific materialism, the triangle provided a window into the unknown. The legend also tapped into deeper cultural anxieties. The Cold War era, when the triangle legend emerged, was a time of invisible threats and government secrecy. The idea that mysterious forces might be operating beyond official control resonated with broader fears about hidden powers and cover-ups. Popular culture amplified these psychological tendencies. Movies like The Bermuda Triangle and Close Encounters of the Third Kind embedded the mystery in the collective imagination. Television shows presented triangle cases as unsolved puzzles, often without mentioning the scientific explanations. The internet age made the problem worse. Debunked triangle cases circulated endlessly on social media, often stripped of their explanations. Conspiracy websites presented the triangle as evidence of everything, from alien bases to government experiments. But perhaps most importantly, the triangle legend persisted because it served a psychological function. It allowed people to believe in mystery without requiring them to abandon reason entirely. Unlike religious miracles or supernatural claims, the triangle seemed to operate within the realm of science, just beyond current understanding. This made it the perfect modern mystery, scientific enough to seem plausible, mysterious enough to inspire wonder. But as researchers would soon discover, the real world contained mysteries far more fascinating than any fabricated legend. Captain Don Walsh descended through the darkness in the Bath escape Trieste, watching the depth gauge climb past 35,000 feet. It was January 22nd, 1965, and he was about to become one of only 2 humans to reach the deepest point on Earth, Challenger Deep in the Mariana Trench. At the bottom, 7 miles beneath the surface, Walsh peered through the portal into an alien world. The pressure outside was over 1,000 times greater than at sea level, enough to crush a human body instantly. Yet life existed here, in forms so strange they seemed like science fiction. This was the real mystery of the ocean, not supernatural disappearances, but an entire world that remained largely unexplored. We have mapped less than 20% of the ocean floor. The deep sea contains mountain ranges taller than the Himalayas, canyons deeper than the Grand Canyon, and ecosystems more alien than anything we might find on Mars. Every expedition reveals new species, new geological formations, new mysteries. In 1977, scientists exploring the Galapagos Rift made a discovery that revolutionized biology. At depths where no sunlight could penetrate, they found thriving ecosystems centered around hydrothermal vents, underwater geysers, spewing superheated, mineral-rich water. These vent communities existed without photosynthesis, the process that powers virtually all life on Earth's surface. Instead, bacteria converted chemicals from the vents into energy, supporting entire food webs in the eternal darkness. Giant tube worms, ghostly white crabs, and bizarre fish species had evolved in complete isolation from the surface world. The discovery suggested that life might exist in environments previously thought impossible, including other planets. If life could thrive in the crushing depths of Earth's oceans, it might exist in the subsurface oceans of Jupiter's moon Europa or Saturn's moon Enceladus. But the deep ocean held other secrets. In 1997, underwater microphones detected a sound from the depths of the Pacific that was unlike anything previously recorded. The bloop, as researchers called it, was one of the loudest sounds ever detected in the ocean, powerful enough to be heard by sensors 3,000 miles apart. For years, the source remained a mystery. Some speculated about unknown sea creatures larger than any whale. Others suggested underwater volcanic activity or shift of ice. The mystery wasn't solved until 2012, when researchers determined the sound came from Antarctic ice breaking and falling into the ocean. The ocean continues to surprise us. In 2012, filmmaker James Cameron descended to Challenger Deep in a specially designed submersible. His cameras revealed a landscape that seemed more like an alien planet than anywhere on Earth. Vast plains of pale sediment, strange rock formations, and creatures adapted to the most extreme environment on our planet. These real mysteries make the fabricated Bermuda Triangle seem almost mundane by comparison. While triangle enthusiasts debate electromagnetic anomalies and time warps, marine scientists are discovering ecosystems that challenge our understanding of life itself. Consider the bioluminescent displays in the deep ocean, where creatures create their own light in patterns more beautiful than any aurora. Or the migration patterns of deep-sea animals, some of which travel thousands of miles through 3-dimensional ocean space with navigation abilities we barely understand. The ocean contains geological features that dwarf anything on land. The Mid-Atlantic Ridge, a wonderwater mountain range that runs the length of the Atlantic Ocean, is where new oceanic crust is born as tectonic plates pull apart. The process creates underwater volcanic activity on a scale that makes terrestrial volcanoes seem insignificant. Perhaps most mysteriously, the ocean plays a role in regulating Earth's climate that we're only beginning to understand. Ocean currents transport heat around the globe, influence weather patterns, and store vast amounts of carbon dioxide. Changes in ocean circulation have triggered ice ages and warming periods throughout Earth's history. Dr. Sylvia Earle, the legendary oceanographer, puts it this way. We call it planet Earth, but it's really planet ocean. The ocean is what makes our world unique in the universe, and we've barely begun to explore it. The real tragedy of the Bermuda Triangle legend isn't just that it's false. It's that it distracts us from the genuine wonders and mysteries that surround us. While people debate fabricated disappearances, the largest habitat on Earth remains largely unexplored, filled with discoveries that could revolutionize our understanding of life, geology, and our planet's future. But the Triangle legend had one more surprise in store. Recent investigations would uncover the most shocking truth of all. In 2013, marine archaeologist Michael Barnett was leading a dive expedition off the coast of North Carolina when his team made an extraordinary discovery. Lying on the ocean floor, perfectly preserved in the cold, dark water, was the wreck of a World War II era aircraft. But this wasn't just any aircraft. As Barnett examined the wreckage, he realized he might be looking at one of the most famous missing planes in history, a TBM Avenger torpedo bomber, identical to the aircraft that comprised Flight 19. The discovery sparked intense debate. Could this be one of the 5 planes that vanished on December 4th, 1945? The aircraft was found far from the Bermuda Triangle, off Cape Hatteras, but ocean currents could have carried wreckage hundreds of miles from the original crash site. Serial number analysis would eventually prove this wasn't one of Flight 19's aircraft. But the discovery highlighted something crucial. The ocean was giving up its secrets. Advanced sonar technology, underwater robots, and deep-sea exploration were finally allowing researchers to find wrecks that had been lost for decades. And what they were finding was reshaping our understanding of the Triangle's most famous cases. In 2011, explorer Barry Clifford announced the discovery of what he believed was the wreck of the SS Cyclops, the Navy cargo ship that had vanished in 1918. Using side-scan sonar, his team had located a large wreck off the coast of Barbados that matched the Cyclops' dimensions. While the identification remained disputed, the discovery demonstrated that even the Triangle's most famous mysteries might have conventional explanations waiting to be uncovered on the ocean floor. But the most significant revelation came from an unexpected source, the US Navy itself. In 2017, the Navy released previously classified documents related to Flight 19. The files contained radio transcripts, weather reports, and investigation records that had never been made public. What they revealed was startling. Lieutenant Charles Taylor, the flight leader, had been drinking the night before the mission. He had also requested to be excused from the flight, claiming he wasn't feeling well. His request was denied due to instructor shortages. More significantly, Taylor had become disoriented during training flights twice before. On one previous occasion, he had become so confused about his location that he had to be guided back to base by radio. His commanding officers were aware of these incidents, but allowed him to continue flying. The newly released documents also revealed that Taylor's compass problems were likely due to his own navigation errors, not equipment failure. The backup compass in his aircraft was functioning normally, but Taylor had apparently misread it or ignored it entirely. Most shocking of all, the documents showed that the Navy had a good idea where Flight 19 had crashed. Radio direction finding equipment had tracked the flight's final transmissions to an area northeast of the Bahamas. Search planes had spotted what appeared to be aircraft wreckage in the area, but rough seas prevented recovery operations. The Navy had kept these details classified for over 70 years, not because of any supernatural cover-up, but because they revealed embarrassing failures in training, supervision, and search and rescue operations. Dr. David Jordan, who has spent decades searching for Flight 19 using advanced underwater technology, believes the aircraft lie in deep water off the Bahamas, probably broken apart and buried in sediment. There's nothing mysterious about what happened, he explains. It was a tragic accident caused by pilot error, compounded by equipment problems and bad weather. The revelation that even Flight 19, the foundational case of the Triangle legend, had a conventional explanation marked the final debunking of the mystery. Every major Triangle case had now been explained, debunked, or revealed to be fabricated. Yet the legend persisted. New books continued to appear, recycling the same old cases. Television documentaries presented Triangle disappearances as unsolved mysteries, often without mentioning the explanations that had been available for decades. The Bermuda Triangle had become what researchers call a cultural virus, a false belief that spreads and mutates regardless of evidence. It had transcended its origins to become a permanent part of popular culture, immune to facts and resistant to debunking. But perhaps this persistence revealed something important about human nature and our relationship with mystery itself. On a warm evening in Miami, Captain Bruce Gernon prepared his Beechcraft Bonanza for a routine flight to Bimini in the Bahamas. It was December 4th, 1970, and Gernon, an experienced pilot, expected the short hop to take less than an hour. What happened next would make Gernon one of the most famous Triangle survivors in history. According to Gernon's account, his aircraft entered a strange, tunnel-shaped cloud formation. Inside the cloud, his instruments malfunctioned, and he experienced what he described as electronic fog. When he emerged, he found himself over Miami Beach, having somehow traveled a distance that should have taken 45 minutes in just 20 minutes. Gurnan became convinced he had experienced a time warp in the Bermuda Triangle. He wrote books, gave lectures, and appeared on countless television shows sharing his story. He became living proof that the triangle's mysteries were real. But meteorologists who examined Gurnan's account found conventional explanations for everything he described. The tunnel cloud was likely a lenticular cloud formation, common in the area. The instrument malfunctions could be explained by electromagnetic interference from thunderstorms. The apparent time compression was probably due to stronger than expected tailwinds. Gurnan rejected these explanations. Like many triangle believers, he preferred the mysterious interpretation to the mundane one. His story became part of triangle lore, repeated endlessly despite having natural explanations. This pattern revealed something crucial about the triangle legend's persistence. It wasn't just that people wanted to believe in mysteries. It was that they needed to believe in them. Dr. Susan Clancy, a Harvard psychologist who studied false memories and paranormal beliefs, found that triangle believers often shared certain psychological characteristics. They scored higher on measures of fantasy proneness and magical thinking. They were more likely to interpret ambiguous events as meaningful and to remember unusual experiences while forgetting ordinary ones. But there was more to it than individual psychology. The triangle legend served important cultural functions. In an age of increasing scientific knowledge and technological control, the triangle represented the persistence of mystery. It suggested that there were still unknown forces in the world, still frontiers beyond human understanding. For many people, this was profoundly comforting. The legend also provided a sense of specialness and hidden knowledge. Triangle believers saw themselves as open-minded individuals who recognized truths that mainstream science ignored. They were the enlightened few who understood that reality was more mysterious than conventional wisdom suggested. Popular culture continued to reinforce these beliefs. Movies, television shows, and books presented triangle cases as genuine mysteries, often without mentioning the scientific explanations. The History Channel, Discovery Channel, and other networks produced documentaries that recycled debunked cases as unsolved puzzles. The internet made the problem worse. Triangle stories spread through social media, often stripped of context and explanation. Conspiracy websites presented the triangle as evidence of government cover-ups, alien activity, or lost civilizations. Young people, encountering triangle stories online, had no way to distinguish between genuine mysteries and fabricated ones. They absorbed the legend as fact, ensuring its transmission to new generations. But perhaps most importantly, the triangle legend persisted because it was emotionally satisfying in ways that scientific explanations were not. The true story of Flight 19, pilot error, equipment problems, and tragic accident were simply less compelling than the mystery version. The real explanation for ship disappearances, storms, mechanical failures, and human error seemed mundane compared to supernatural forces. Dr. Carl Sagan, the renowned astronomer and science communicator, understood this perfectly. The truth may be puzzling, he wrote. It may take some work to grapple with. It may be counterintuitive. It may contradict deeply held prejudices. It may not be consonant with what we desperately want to be true. But our preferences do not determine what's true. The Bermuda Triangle legend represented the opposite impulse, the desire for truth to conform to our preferences for mystery and wonder. Yet, even as the legend persisted, something unexpected was happening. A new generation of researchers was finding ways to satisfy the human need for mystery while remaining faithful to scientific truth. Dr. Robert Ballard stood on the deck of the research vessel Nautilus, watching the sun set over the Gulf of Mexico. It was 2018, and his team had just completed another successful deep-sea expedition, discovering new species and geological formations in waters that had never been explored. Ballard, famous for discovering the wreck of the Titanic, had spent his career revealing the ocean's genuine mysteries, and what he had found was far more wondrous than any fabricated legend. People ask me about the Bermuda Triangle, Ballard reflected, but the real ocean is so much more amazing than any made-up mystery. We're exploring an alien world right here on our own planet. The numbers were staggering. Humans had explored less than 5% of the ocean. Every expedition revealed new species, new ecosystems, new geological wonders. The deep sea contained more biodiversity than tropical rainforests, more mineral wealth than all terrestrial deposits combined, and more unexplored territory than all other frontiers combined. Recent discoveries had revolutionized our understanding of life itself. Scientists had found microorganisms living in oceanic crust, miles beneath the seafloor, existing in conditions previously thought impossible. These discoveries suggested that life might be far more common in the universe than previously believed. The ocean's role in climate regulation was proving more complex and crucial than anyone had imagined. Ocean currents transported heat around the globe, with a power equivalent to millions of nuclear reactors. Changes in these currents could trigger ice ages or warming periods that would reshape civilization. But perhaps most remarkably, the ocean was revealing its own history in ways that made human mysteries seem insignificant by comparison. In 2016, researchers drilling core samples from the ocean floor discovered evidence of a massive asteroid impact that had occurred 66 million years ago. The impact had created tsunamis over a mile high and triggered the extinction of the dinosaurs. The evidence was preserved in layers of sediment on the ocean floor, a geological record more detailed than any human archive. The ocean contained the history of life on Earth, written in stone and preserved in the eternal darkness of the deep. Every species that had ever lived, every climate change, every geological upheaval, all of it was recorded in the ocean's depths, waiting to be discovered. This was the real mystery, not fabricated disappearances, but the genuine unknown that surrounded us. The ocean covered 71% of our planet's surface, yet remained largely unexplored. It was the largest habitat on Earth, the birthplace of life, the regulator of climate, and the keeper of planetary history. Dr. Sylvia Earle, who had devoted her life to ocean exploration, put it perfectly. We are still in the early stages of exploring and understanding our blue planet. Every dive, every expedition, every new technology reveals wonders that exceed our wildest imagination. The tragedy of the Bermuda Triangle legend wasn't just that it was false. It was that it distracted attention from the genuine wonders that surrounded us. While people debated fabricated mysteries, the real ocean remained largely unexplored, its secrets waiting to be discovered by future generations. But there was reason for hope. New technologies were opening the deep ocean to exploration in unprecedented ways. Autonomous or autonomic underwater vehicles could explore the deepest trenches. Advanced sonar could map the seafloor in exquisite detail. Genetic sequencing was revealing the incredible diversity of deep-sea life. Young people, armed with these new tools, were beginning to explore the ocean's genuine mysteries. They were discovering new species, mapping underwater mountain ranges, and unraveling the complex relationships between ocean, atmosphere, and climate. The future of ocean exploration promised discoveries that would dwarf any fabricated legend. Scientists predicted that millions of unknown species awaited discovery in the deep sea. Underwater mountain ranges and geological formations remained unmapped. The ocean's role in regulating Earth's climate was still poorly understood. These were the real mysteries, not supernatural disappearances, but the genuine unknown that surrounded us. The ocean was our planet's final frontier, more alien and mysterious than any fictional triangle. As our research vessel sailed through the calm waters off Florida, passing through the region once known as the Bermuda Triangle, the ocean stretched endlessly toward the horizon. Beneath the surface lay a world more wondrous than any legend, more mysterious than any fabricated story, more deserving of our curiosity and exploration than any supernatural tale. The Bermuda Triangle had captured imaginations for decades, but it was time to move beyond fabricated mysteries to embrace the genuine wonders of our blue planet. The real ocean was waiting, vast and largely unexplored, holding secrets that would reshape our understanding of life, Earth, and our place in the universe. In the end, the greatest mystery wasn't why ships and planes had supposedly vanished in these waters. It was why we had spent so long looking for supernatural explanations, when the natural world contained wonders beyond our wildest imagination. The ocean calls to us still, not with fabricated mysteries, but with genuine secrets waiting to be discovered. And that, perhaps, is the most wonderful mystery of all.